this video, I'm going to talk to you about a way of having a conversation with a prospect or a client that will help you do a number of things at the same time. The first thing it will do is it'll help them to articulate in their words their needs, and then put a value on those needs and feeling what that might be like if they go unmet. At the same time, build an idea of what's possible, if you like, their future ideal. That has the third knock-on effect, which is to create a tension between where they are now and where they want to be. And that tension, like a tug of war, will create a drive or a motivation to want to change, to do something. And of course, if you're helping them summarize that conversation and extracting that detail in their own words, not putting words in their mouth, you're in a prime position to be able to be regarded as the person that they can trust, the person that they go to first, to actually then think about solving the problems, issues, or taking the opportunities, however you want to call it, in a way that matches well the solutions that we have to offer. So let's just have a quick look at the kind of the psychology and the running order of this. So the conversation is about scoping if there's an opportunity and what's the size of that opportunity. So if you imagine the client's needs being a kind of an extendable bar, where through conversation they're able to say, yeah, our needs, say, are expressed by all of this area here. At the same time, in the background, you're thinking, how does that map or overlap with the kind of products, services and solutions that we have in our portfolio? And you're making that mental assessment, and here's the careful thing, it really is a mental assessment. It's not a conversational assessment at that stage. You know, in a selling situation, which is consultative, you don't want to solve every problem as they pop up, because there's no feeling of build, there's no feeling of real anticipation or real momentum to want to change, but you're just taking stock of it. So as you're listening, you can think, oh yeah, okay, well, that's cute. That kind of the way that they manage to talk about their needs, let's call them, that's that bar there, is beginning to well overlap with what we provide, and there's the overlap. And that's the kind of value that somehow can be placed both for the client and the way that we give them something that they can't do for themselves, and also for ourselves. So it has to be a mutual value exchange. So let's just move through a series of questions which frankly don't have to happen in the order that I'm about to show you. And then in another video, I'm going to give an example of a plumber on how this model could work, the kind of questions, where they start or where you start, or however they want, wherever their focus is, you can go with that. And in that sense, it feels entirely natural. But let's just have a look at this. The kind of questioning sequence would be, what's going on right now? What's the situation? What kind of problems or challenges or opportunities would you like to, what kind of problems do you want to solve? What kind of challenges are stopping you from doing what you want to do? And if you think in a positive way, what are the opportunities that you're missing right now? And they probably gauge that because they can see maybe their competition is actually performing better than them. What are the consequences of allowing the current situation to remain unchanged? And what kind of timescale would people put on that? Would it be a month? Would it be can you tolerate that? Or is that intolerable? After 3 or 4 months, what's changed? Has it got better or worse? Or has it remained the same? And what would be the implications for you, the organisation, and the team around you if it's a larger organisation? What actually would it feel like to have not solved the problem or taken those opportunities or seen the challenges that you faced? So can you see in that first bit, what we're trying to do is give them a very structured way of being able to articulate their current situation by putting numbers on it in evidence, by feeling what it might look like in the future if it doesn't change, and by beginning to articulate the real challenges that they face. The role of the consultant, the account manager in this sense, is simply to ask great questions, listen and take stock. Coming on to the second half of this particular model, we don't want to leave them despondent. We want to be able to say, great. So what would it be like when you were performing to take all of the opportunities? What kind of things would be going on differently then? What would that mean to you in the business? What would the impact of that be for you? What could it enable you to do more of that's attractive and less of that's unattractive? And the final bit here, or nearly the final bit, is what do you think's stopping you? What's actually preventing you from actually solving the problem in the first place if we weren't having this conversation? And then finally, when you've kind of heard all of this over a period of maybe an hour or even longer if it's a complicated sell in a larger organization, you're then able to summarize. And the key of this summary is to be able to do that. No more, no less. You are telling them what you've heard from them. You haven't said what you think unless they ask your opinion, and that's a different matter. But what you've enabled them to do is feel very, very clearly that they've been understood, that the problem has been scoped and scaled with evidence around it, what needs to happen next to remove those barriers, the constraints, and then as a consequence of that, you've enabled them to not just kind of articulate the pain of staying put, but also feel the motivation for the gains that they're likely to have. And if you think about your own experience with pain and gain, we know that if we can articulate it well enough, there's a tension between pain and gain, and that's our motivation to change, and that's their motivation to change. So in the summary, what this model enables you to do is get away from products and product limits. In other words, a pay-per-click package internally that starts at X and stops at Y, and then a new one starts. And the same with anything else, SEO, websites. It enables you to freely think and the client to experience that free thinking around their needs being totally understood in such a way that by the time you finish that conversation, just let me get a green pen here, you're able to actually summarize their client's needs, summarize right at the end how we think we now may be able to help them, and just to finally say that, not just help them, but on a scale and in a way which gives them real competitive advantage, not just to play catch up, but to play overtake. So if there's an internal limit on pay-per-click or SEO packages, those aren't a consideration. We could be selling 2x, 5x, 10x based on what the competition are doing to keep them away from being found and then being chosen. Have fun.